Great to be here in Ukraine again. I was here last year as well, and everybody's so passionate here about these kind of events. Everybody is so glad to be part of the event. I think, the organization was very good. A lot of interesting talks, a lot of questions that came up from the audience. So it's very nice to be here, and people seem to be glad of being here. So again, it's a pleasure to be here. You have to come to meetings like this. Otherwise, you're just going to be home sitting with your patient and doing your thing over and over again. You're not going to improve. So the key to becoming a better surgeon or a better person in general is to be curious, to get information, to be up to date. And there are so many things coming up, even in the breast industry, where probably you might think that everything has already been said, but that is actually not true. Like plastic surgery is not a perfect science. Everybody thinks a little bit different. So I know, for example, that here in Ukraine, a lot of surgeons use anatomical implants. And it depends. If you look in the rest of Europe or maybe even in the States, there are different trends. For example, in the States, there are a lot of people using round implants. I am based in Sweden, and there is probably 50-50. I am Italian originally, and then it's also maybe 50-50. So the questions are related to that. If you're used to doing a technique, for example, with anatomical implant, then all the questions are related on that, or maybe why would you use a round implant here? So I think it's very fair and good questions I got today. Try to understand what can be the differences, but I don't think that it has to be right or wrong. Sometimes both situations or solutions can be adequate, as long as you can choose the correct implant, based on the patient measurements. There is not so much you can come up with in breast surgery because, it's just implants inside a pocket. But actually there is much more than that. We have this 14 plan now. That is something that is fairly new, came up a couple of years ago, and everybody has been talking about it. And I have done also my research on that, and I have actually done a couple of adjunctions to those 14 points, that it became 16 in my case. And it's very important, because if you look at what happened 30, 40 years ago, the surgeon would just do a little cut in the inframammary fold, put the finger in, rip everything apart, do a pocket, put the implant in, close, 15 minutes operation, that was done. And now we have so much more, we are a lot of planning, a lot of taking measurements to the patient, and then a lot of steps of the operation from the beginning to the end, from giving antibiotic to the patient, to cleaning the skin properly, to opening up properly, to performing the dissection in a proper way, using the right instruments, performing a perfect suture, not only just stitches, but like, for example, a multi-layered suture. So if you look at the last 5 years, it's a huge improvement. And that again shows how important it is to come to such meetings. Otherwise, you'll be doing things like we did 30 or 40 years ago, and that would be wrong. Well, Allergan has been around for so many years now, 30, 40 years. So of course it's a well-established company, and there is a lot of science behind it. That is the answer to your question. You cannot possibly get like a big name and big results, and you cannot be trusted if there is no science behind it. Personally speaking, for example, I am involved in publications, and I like to sort of read literature and do things according to science. And that is also the approach that Allergan has had throughout the years. I've been lucky enough to work with Allergan for a few years now, and we've done projects together, so science is always behind the scenes, so it's very important.